Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Cindy Chavez here. Today is Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018 at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Your first daily dose of happy for the day. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's Valentine's Day. It finally arrived. And hopefully hopefully you're taking full advantage and you're showing those you love that you love them and so forth. And if you're in a place where you don't have that significant other yet, or maybe there's something not working right with your relationship or whatever, well, there's still hope for you today too, believe it or not. There's actually things you can do that will improve your love situation. In fact, that's the topic for today. We're carrying on the topic that we discussed yesterday, and there's a lot more to talk about. Cindy has a long list, and we got like halfway through it, so we have to do another show about it to do the rest of the list. But it's all good stuff. And, of course, yesterday, Cindy, we had our first evening show for call-in, and we had our first call-in. So that was exciting, too, and it just enhances my love for doing the podcast. So love is in the air.
That is really exciting. I mean, I'm so happy to know that you hosted that show, and that the very first time you guys had a caller that called in, and it sounds like it was a really interesting conversation with that caller too. So that's so exciting. Very exciting. Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations to all of us.
Yeah.
In fact, the other thing that's exciting is the numbers. Yesterday we broke our previous all-time record for most listeners of our podcasts. Combined yesterday, there were a total of 510 podcast plays yesterday. And that just blows my mind. Yeah. It's just, it's like I said to Tom last night, 510 a year ago or more, that would have been 5 months worth of listeners.
Well, I can't stop smiling about that. That's wonderful.
It's exciting. It's wonderful.
Fantastic.
I mean, just so thrilling. So I hope you had a good day. And you got anything fun planned for today, I hope?
I do. I have a hot date tonight.
Ooh.
At my favorite restaurant, and I'm so excited about that. Little fun place way out in the country that we don't get to too often because, we live in the city, and so and we live in Louisiana. I don't know if you've ever been here, but the food here is phenomenal, and so we only have to go a very short distance from the house. We joke that we have like this radius, right? Somebody will say, "Hey, you want to meet us for dinner?" It'll be somewhere like 3 miles away, and we're like, "Oh, that's getting outside of the radius." Because we really don't have. we have like Trader Joe's is less than 1 mile from the house. The interstate's less than a mile. We live in this beautiful neighborhood, but everything is very close to us, right? So we don't have to really go too far. And this place is, it's 30 minutes out in the country, so it's a special occasion to go out there, and I'm excited about going out there tonight. And then today I'm teaching a class, and I'm excited about that, and a lot of good stuff going on. And this podcast is just like the perfect way to start Valentine's Day, because two of my passions, law of attraction and talking about relationships, and putting those together and knowing that this is something you can create. Even with couples, I often say to them, you get to design the relationship to be the way you want it. That sounds really basic, but sometimes I think people miss that point. They're like, our relationship is like this, right? It's in the same way that people say, well, I'm just like this. It's like, well, we can change that. So I'm excited about the topic. You can hear that in my voice.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic.
And I have a cool thing to tell you, because yesterday we were talking about looking into the mirror.
Right.
And looking into your own eyes and saying, I love you. Mm-hmm. And how difficult that is for some people. And I had relayed a story to you that I had heard, and I thought, and I was correct. My memory was correct, which is really great. My memory was correct. It was Jack Canfield that had, and I just Googled yesterday, Jack Canfield mirror work, just to see. And I think the first thing that came up, it said Jack Canfield mirror exercise, and it's actually on his blog, and he tells his way of doing this. And what he talks about is looking into the mirror at the end of the day and telling yourself how much you appreciate about yourself. And the person that had told me this story had been somebody that worked with Jack Canfield. And she's a friend of mine, a colleague, but not somebody that I really talk to very often at all. And haven't talked to her probably for 6 months. And anyway, so I had told you that story and said, I think that this person, I think it was her, and I think it was Jack Canfield. Okay, well, it was. As soon as we got off the podcast yesterday, I did that little Google to find out. I said, okay, it's Jack Canfield. And that's a great blog if you want to search it and look at that one article about mirror exercise, Jack Canfield. It's really terrific.
Okay.
So anyway, about a few hours later, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to run an errand with her, and I said, sure. And so on the way to the errand, she said she needed to stop at the post office. I said, great, because that's where my post office box is. And I only have the post office box because I do, email for business, and I need to have a post office box. But I don't get a lot of mail in my post office box, so I don't check it. I hardly ever check it. And so I said, yeah, my post office box there. I haven't checked it in a month. I should probably go check it, see if anything's in there. I opened the P.O. box, and there's a note in there and an envelope, and I don't recognize the writing, and it has no return address. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I open it, and wouldn't you know, it's a beautiful Valentine from my friend, the one that told me the story about
Lovely. Oh, that's great.
And I was like, yeah, right? I was like, that is the coolest synchronicity, because I haven't thought of her in a while. I haven't talked to her in months, and just mentioned her this morning, and there she is.
That's amazing. So
yeah. I thought that's just fun when things like that happen.
It is fun.
But this is the thing, is with that mirror work. You were saying to open the show, if it's Valentine's Day, and, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes if you're not in a relationship, Valentine's Day is really tough. And sometimes, sadly, it can be tough when you're in a relationship. And so this is what we're talking about today, is the relationship, the things that we can do to bring more love in. And often they are things that have to do with our relationship with ourselves first, because just like we're talking about using a mirror here, the whole world is a mirror for us, and our relationships out in the world are just going to mirror back to us that relationship we have with ourselves. And so the story that I told yesterday about Jack Canfield was that I believe he said that he did this for 30 days, looked into a mirror at the end of the day, and he gives specific directions on how he did it in that article that he wrote. But he looked into the mirror and told himself how much he appreciated himself. And if I recall correctly, the story said that at the end of 30 days, his negative mental chatter was just gone. There was no more.
That's incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. And I'm actually making notes about this. I don't always make notes about everything that we all talk about on all the podcasts, but this one I'm making a note on because, I have worked really hard over the years to reduce that chatter. To have a method that eliminates it entirely, I want to try that one.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a book. I'm trying to think of the author's name. I'm going to probably get this wrong. It's Shad Helmstetter or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to get the title wrong too, but I'm going to be close enough. It was something like what to say when you talk to yourself.
Okay.
And he's the one that said, if you could have somebody, in your head that just followed you around in your head with a steno book and wrote down everything, that you thought for
I've thought about that. I thought about exactly that, and I realized very early on that if anybody could ever do that, I never wanted them to publish it.
Oh, you're right. Well, what he said was that if he could just write down everything you thought in a week, and then take the top 10.
Ah.
And specifically the things that well, I guess everything we're thinking to ourselves, right? But
yeah, it works that way, doesn't it?
All that mental chatter. Right. So he said if he could take the top 10 things, that those would basically be like the software that was running your mental computer.
Right.
And so, whoa, that's like, oh my goodness. And so having some kind of control over those thoughts and those thought processes and alleviating that negative mental chatter, so important. And so what's interesting is this is sort of an outward exercise that you can do. I mean, right? You know, we talk about in personal growth and in coaching, and we often talk about inner work and outer work, right? There's the outer stuff that we do,
mm-hmm.
And then there's the inner work that we do. And what I like about this, and of course they affect each other, what I like about this is kind of an outer work exercise. You know, it has bullet points to it, right? It has like step 1, go find a mirror.
Yes, right.
And so it's got a set of instructions, but as we do this outer work, it starts to affect the mental chatter and the inner work. And so that's where all the power is that we hold as conscious creators, thought process.
I mean, I think about the negative self-talk that goes through my mind, and it is reduced. I've reduced it a lot over the years, but even the amount that's still there, you realize that as you think about that you're doing that negative self-talk is also tied to a negative emotion, which means all of that negative self-talk represents resistance to all the good things we're trying to attract into our lives. So wanting to get rid of that negative self-talk, like you say, is huge. It's a really, really big deal. And that's why I want to try Canfield's method, because, I mean, Canfield, I trust Canfield. He is a really top, in my mind, one of the best LOA people out there. And if he says to do it, I want to try it. He is a definite master. Because, I mean, getting rid of all that self-talk, having no more negative self-talk, and have only positive self-talk, wow, the power that would come from that, it just blows my mind. So, yeah, I would not want anyone to underestimate this. This stuff is really important.
And if you notice, like, a lot of the times, even when we've done work and we're, like you said, you know, really reduced the amount of negative self-talk and mental chatter, you know, sometimes it just comes out. I mean, I've even heard other people, like, you know, someone working on something and trying to fix something, it's not going well, and they'll make a mistake and just out of their mouth they'll just say, "Oh, you idiot," right? Talking to themselves.
We do that so easily, too. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I always, like, if I hear someone say that, you know, I'll say, hey, don't talk about my friend that way.
Yeah, right. That's good. I like that.
Because you'd never say that, you know, to your child, hopefully.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Friend, you know, but when I was in coaching school, I remember one of my mentors saying, if we treated our friends the way we treat ourselves, we'd all be in jail. Right?
Yeah, we are a little rough on ourselves at times, aren't we? And I firmly raise my hand on that, because I'm like at the top of the list of people who are really rough on themselves.
We can be, and so this is one of the best things that we can do on Valentine's Day is to be good to ourselves.
Yes.
It's the best thing we can do for ourselves every day, but especially if today is rough. It's be kind to yourself, be nice to yourself, give yourself some big love, you know. And so working down this list, the where we left off yesterday, now this one, with LOA practitioners, this one may have to be to your own taste, but it was number 12. It's to schedule a physical, an eye appointment, a dental checkup, a hearing test, or any other kind of medical maintenance type of appointment that you're due for or overdue for. I say this completely knowing that some LOA practitioners don't want to do this because it doesn't create good feelings in them. They want to take care of their own health and they don't want to go to a doctor or whatever, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to, but I am saying that it is a sign of self-care to go take care of yourself, to make a maintenance appointment, to get a checkup, in the same way that you would take your pet to the vet for a checkup or take your child to the pediatrician for a wellness check. It's just a sign of love and care and concern that sometimes people don't show themselves.
I would perhaps think of it myself. When I look at, you're right, I have some of those kinds of reservations, but when I read it in terms of give yourself health wellness. Give yourself attention to your own health, to your own wellness. And if that means going to a checkup, then go to a checkup. If it means going for a run, go take a run. If it means changing your diet, change your diet. But attend to your health, attend to your wellness. Instead of doing what we so often do, and that is give attention to the sickness. Change it, turn it around, flip it around.
Exactly. And I think that's what comes up for some, because I've had a really great conversation in depth with some other LOA teachers where everybody was weighing in on, and that was the question. The question was, do you get an annual physical? Because some people were saying no. Like, I feel great. I'm in great health. I don't want to go I'm not out to go find something that's wrong with me, right? I'm not out to go find, right? And so I get that. I understand that. And I think that, once again, yesterday we talked about all of the things on this list, that the important place to start from is intention. Like, it's a loving intention that we're doing this.
That's right.
Think about, you have cats. I had and missed terribly my little dog, but it's like, well, it was always a loving intention for me when I had to take her to the vet. It was never like, I guess where we're going today. So now, as soon as we started turning down that street, she would freak out because she knew where we were going. But, the intention was love. And so, like you said, the intention isn't, let's go find a disease or a symptom that I can prove to myself there's something wrong with me. That's not the intention. The intention is, do we take care of ourselves? Do we look after ourselves like someone that we love? And because this whole idea is sending out vibration into the universe that shows we love ourselves, aligning with love for ourselves, because that way we get love for ourselves from other people. That's how it starts to work. So the next one was very similar, and it was take your vitamins or supplements or healthy food or whatever you put into your body, because I'm great at doing research and finding out, this would be a supplement that would really help me, and then buying it, and then it's on the counter, and I haven't really been taking it.
Well, I have a particular incentive, actually, to do both of those, because for me they're tied together. The first one says eye appointment, the second one says take your vitamins. A number of years ago, I learned that in my left eye I have macular degeneration. I'm literally blind, looking straight forward in my left eye. And, of course, since then I've been working really hard on convincing myself that what I actually am developing is macular regeneration, because I want to try to turn that around in my thinking. But I also take these special vitamins that are specifically scientifically researched to and demonstrated to have a positive effect on people who have that condition. And I have taken them, I hesitate to use the word, but it's the only one that comes to mind. I take them religiously every single day because I want to maintain my eye health. I want to improve my eye health. That's why I take these vitamins. They're specially formulated specifically for people with this condition. Why wouldn't I take it? That's the way I look at it. And yet I can see, if I didn't make it a point to do it every day, I could see how I could lose the habit on that, even though my eyesight is so important to me. So I make sure I take them every day. In fact, we were on vacation this past year in the Cape Cod. And while we were there, we got there the first day, and I opened my suitcase to get stuff out, and I realized I'd left my eye vitamins at home. I said, oh, no, I left my vitamins home. And she says, you're going to be okay for a couple of days. I said, no, I need them. I actually went out of my way. I stopped the vacation, went out of my way to go to a CVS to buy the vitamins so I could continue with my vacation, because it actually made me feel better knowing I was still taking the vitamins the way I always did habitually every single day. So it can actually turn into something. Yeah. It was. I viewed it as a positive, and I felt better. which is really the most important thing anyway. I felt better. I felt like, oh, good. I stuck with it. I was able to relax.
See, that's perfect. That's a perfect example of, the intention being right. It's like, no, I will feel better if I do this, and I'm doing something good for myself, and I'm doing it every day, right? Like you said, it's like every day I have to do this. So speaking of every day, tell people how they can subscribe so that they don't miss a podcast.
Oh, yeah, right. Because the subscriptions have definitely been increasing, and among other things, we're finding that when someone, well, actually, regardless of whether they subscribe, it shows actually how many people are subscribing. When people listen to the podcast, on average, they're listening to 30 podcasts a month. So people are definitely liking this stuff. So if you're liking what you're hearing, we encourage you to subscribe if you've not yet already done that. It's really easy to do. You just go to the homepage, loatoday.net. You'll see subscribe buttons there. It's very simple. Really simple on an iPhone because when you click it, it just guides you through how to add it into the podcast app that gets built into the iPhone. If you're on an Android phone, Motorola, Samsung, LG, Nokia, one of those guys, you usually have to install some sort of podcast app. They usually don't come with one automatically pre-installed for you, but they're easy enough to find. You just go to the Play Store. One of the ones that Wendy Dillard recommends is called the Podcast Manager. It's a free one. And once you download and install that app and open it, then you can use the app to do a search for LOA Today, and you'll find us that way too, and just click the subscribe button. And what it does, of course, is it makes sure that your phone always has all of the episodes of LOA Today updated every single day, and you can listen to your heart's content whenever you're ready to. And our byword is subscribe and share. So once you've subscribed, take advantage of the fact that you'll now see on the website we have about 5 billion social media buttons. Well, maybe not quite 5 billion, but it seems like that. I mean, Wendy was commenting like, oh my God, I saw those buttons. But we put them up there to make it really easy for people to share as well, because sharing is how more and more people find out about LOA Today. So please subscribe and share, and thank you for being a loyal listener.
Yay. All right. Yes, a loyal listener. That's what we want, loyal listeners, because here's the thing. We talk about it all the time, but it's things that you get in the habit of, right? And
that's right.
The more it's kind of like you are what you eat, and you are what you read, and you are what you listen to. Like whatever information you're taking in, that's going to start affecting your entire life, because that's
exactly
the way we are. We're holistic. So
we are.
The more you listen to these kind of ideas, the easier it gets.
Plus, it's fun, too. I mean, we make these shows fun every time.
I think they're fun. I have fun. I always feel good. I love doing this podcast because it starts my day in a way that I'm, my vibe is already lifted.
Yeah.
Much, much higher than it would be if I wasn't talking about this stuff.
Me too.
Okay, so ways we can bring more love into our life. The next one, this is one of my favorites. Buy yourself some flowers. Now, I actually had a conversation with somebody, and this is a law of attraction practitioner who's a really powerful creator. She said, I don't want to buy myself flowers. I want other people to send me flowers. I want flowers. I don't want to buy them for myself. I'm being honest about this. I want them to come from someone else. And what was funny in the conversation is that someone else said, well, I buy the flowers for my house. Like, I buy the flowers to show my house, show my home some love. Like, I love my house, I love my home, I want my home to love me back, so it's like I buy my house flowers. And she said, oh, I can totally get on board with that. So I think it was last night. Yeah, last night we were coming home and we stopped by Trader Joe's to pick up a few things. And if you know the Trader Joe's grocery store chain, who I plug all the time, right?
Yeah, right.
They have a really nice little flower department. Well, because Valentine's Day was today, oh my goodness, like half the store was filled with flowers. There were so many containers of flowers. There were flowers everywhere. And one of the managers that knows us, he said to us, if you guys would have been here 30 minutes ago, you would have turned around and just left. And it was a little bit busy when we were there, maybe about 8 o'clock, I guess. But apparently, like the hour before, the whole store was just completely, he said, yeah, you would have turned around and left. And so I thought it was so funny. You know, today is the day to buy yourself flowers because probably everywhere you go, there's going to be flowers for sale.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
And I've had people say, but flowers are expensive. You know, here we go again with that kind of like manicures are expensive, chocolate is expensive, flowers are expensive. Okay, right down the street from me, there's an actual flower shop. And you can go into that flower shop and buy one flower. So buy one flower for yourself if it's too much for you to do a big display. But having flowers in the house was actually on the list of the scientific article that we read with, I think it was 10 scientifically proven ways to create more happiness. And having flowers in your house was on that list, which just having it on the list made me feel happy.
Oh, yeah.
So, and of course, Walt, your wife is got a gardening business, so I guess.
Well, I was going to mention that
flowers
because they are very big, and she has a very successful gardening services business in the area, and very, very often we'll be out shopping, and I remember the first time it happened, she decided she just picked up a bunch of flowers and added them to the grocery cart. And I kind of looked at her quizzically, and she says, I'm a gardener, and I don't get to enjoy the flowers because I'm doing everybody else's garden. I want to enjoy the flowers. I thought that was great.
Yes. Well, it's really funny. It's really funny. Like usually on Valentine's Day or anniversaries and things like that, I'll get a flower delivery, which is wonderful. The rest of the time, which is the rest of the year, which is we're in the grocery store. It seems like every other day. When we walk in, that's the first thing that you walk into. And he will say to me, do we have flowers? Do we need flowers? How are your flowers? Like, there's always flowers, and they go in the grocery cart just like everything else goes in the grocery cart.
That's great.
Just like, it's a wonderful habit. Okay, so the next one on the list, hand cream. Now, I don't know if men use hand cream as much as women do, but I know one thing is that my hands get neglected sometimes and will start feeling rough. And somebody said to me one time, oh, I never turn down when someone offers me hand cream or a glass of water. I don't know why. It just cracks me up. She said, I always say yes.
That's funny.
That's the rule. But again, just, you know, you don't have to use hand cream, but being thankful for your hands.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm thankful for all of my body, but our hands and feet work really hard for us. And I never want to take them for granted. All the typing that they do and the knitting that they do and the cooking and the everything else. One time I injured my left hand, and I'm right-handed. And I accidentally, that web between your thumb and your pointer finger, I had a knife slip, a really big knife, and I cut all the way through that webbing, and I had to go get it stitched back together. And so I lost the ability in that hand for about 2 months, 3 months, maybe 4 months, to really squeeze.
Oh.
I mean, I could, but I didn't have that because I cut through that muscle, and I couldn't, like, really grab or squeeze. And it was my left hand. And I was shocked at how much it affected my life. It wasn't even my dominant hand. And so it's like we do so much with our hands, so give them some love, you know?
I agree. I love that idea because I remember about, I'm going to guess it was about 25 years ago, something like that. It was early in the development of computers with mice. And I started to develop what they sometimes call carpal tunnel, where you get pain runs up your arm or into your shoulder or so forth, simply from doing all those very fine movements with the mouse. And what I learned from that process is it isn't just the fine movements, it's a combination of what your emotional state is and how you grasp and move your arm. And I learned that when I was developing that carpal tunnel, I was working it hard. I was in a tense way grabbing the mouse, in a tense way, deliberately pushing it to exactly that spot and so forth. And that had developed the condition, and it was painful. It was so painful, I actually had to operate computers. Of course, for me, that was a big deal. I had to operate them without my right hand. I'm right-handed also. So that, no,
Oh.
it took a while in order for the inflammation to go down, and I had to work with my left hand for a while, which was actually good for me. It was good for me to develop the left hand, but still, I really, really missed having the right hand ability. So when the swelling went down and I could use my right hand again to mouse around, I learned really soon after that to be gentle with myself, to be kind, to be, and give my hand breaks and, and not be on that mouse all day long, and just give myself room to feel good and to relax and so forth. And I've had maybe one flare-up since then, but it was short. It was really brief. So I can tell you there is a practical benefit to loving your hands, and that is when you love your hands or love your feet or whatever, you are doing them a big favor.
I love that you said, our emotional state.
Oh, it makes a huge difference.
Sometimes we forget how important that is, but that's the whole deal when you're talking about law of attraction.
That's right, yeah. And it's also the whole deal where physical health is concerned. I mean, really, when you look at anything that you're trying to deal with on a physical basis, if you're dealing with some sort of a disease condition or something like that, inevitably there is a negative emotion somewhere going on in the background that needs to be addressed.
I mean, there are health practitioners that say that every physical, symptom is attached to an emotional something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's super important to pay attention. All right, this next one is really one of my favorites, but it's just because I had personal experience here. And I just said, cook what you like for dinner.
Mm.
And especially if you're the cook of the family, because the question I asked was, how many times do you not cook some certain things that you really like because you're the only one that really likes it?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were certain things when I cooked for a family, there were certain things that were like sort of my favorite, but everybody else was sort of like, I don't want that, right? So I would never make them. And when we flip that around and we say, okay, so what if you had a family and you were the cook of the family and this one child had a favorite that you never made for him?
Yeah.
Please, could we have this? No. You're the only one that likes it, so no. But we do that to ourselves.
We do.
And so I thought, this is a way that we can really show ourselves some love because, food is so often connected with love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
There are books written about this, right? There's a wonderful book Janine Roth wrote called Women, Food, and God. I mean, food is often how we show love. And so show yourself some love and eat your favorite thing for dinner. Cook your favorite thing, and while you're at it, break out the good china.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Break out the good china that you only break out when, other people come over. Do it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. My wife has a really interesting thing that she does with us because food has long been very, very important in our lives. And she does most of the cooking. I usually do the cleanup. And in fact, I always do the cleanup. And, so it's a good division of labor because there are times that I'll make dinner too, but more often than not, I ask her to make the dinner because I will eat almost anything that she makes. But she's a much more picky eater, and there was a time when we were trying to split the dinner duties, and I was going crazy because I couldn't come up with what she wanted to eat, 3/4 of the time. Most of the time, my guess was wrong, which is not a good feeling at all. And then I'd ask her, "Well, what would you like to have?" And she says, "Well, you decide." And they're like, "Oh God, no, this is like a catch-22." So we reversed it, and we made it so that she does most of the cooking. Occasionally she'll ask me to make something, and I'll say, yeah, sure, I'll make that something that I know you want, and then I'll do the cleanup. Well, along with that, there is a long history of her associating some of the happiest times of her life with a particular meal she had. She is a tremendous person at remembering what we had for dinner on the third day of the vacation in 2009. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And I can barely remember what we had yesterday. She can remember what we did 10 years ago. It's just incredible. So the routine that we now have is that it doesn't matter what day it is. It doesn't matter what's been going on during the day. sometime during the day, not always right before dinner. It can be like hours before. It can be right after we just finished lunch. She'll say, okay, I think tonight we're going to have chicken parmesan, and we're going to have it with some broccoli, and I thought maybe like a little applesauce on the side. What do you think? I said, yeah, that sounds great. We do that every single day. I think once in the last 20 years I said, no, I really don't want that. So she knows every time I'm going to say yes, but nevertheless, we go through our routine every day. And one of the things that she told me about it very early on is that it helps her. It helps her to tell me what's on the menu because it helps her get excited not only about making it, but about eating it. And I thought that's interesting. That's certainly different from my own experience. But if you're the kind of person who has that kind of association with food, that's important. That's really important to do that kind of thing, I think.
Well, I love the way that whole process, to me anyway, sounds like a vibe lifter.
Oh, it is, yeah.
See?
Very much so.
And then, like you said, she cooks the meal, and then you enjoy it together, and then you clean up. And I have to say, as the cook in my family for, forever, I've always been so appreciative of not having to clean up, because doing the cooking and the cleanup is a lot of work.
It's a ton. Oh, yeah.
So all of you people listening that are the ones that do the cleanup for someone else who cooks, I salute you today, and thank you. Appreciate you.
And by the way, that's a little message, too, for the people who are wondering why they don't have someone in their lives. A lot of, we think about relationships in terms of the big stuff, like the big dates and the intense love and, getting married and having children and all that kind of stuff. But relationships are also about the little things. And if you want to attract somebody into your life and you're having trouble doing that, you might want to pay more attention at what little things you do right now for yourself in your own life. That's one of the reasons, Cindy, you wrote this list up, to give ourselves that self-love.
Yeah.
You have to develop that kind of habit first. Otherwise, you can't attract somebody else. Take it from someone who was relationship-less for over 20 years until he finally started doing the little things. And then all of a sudden, somebody showed up, and she hasn't gone.
Right? I mean, it's so true. It's that love for ourselves. I can't say it enough to people that want a relationship, is that the most important thing you can do is to start taking action to reduce that negative mental chatter, to love yourself and appreciate yourself, to actively look for ways to appreciate yourself. And this isn't to say that you don't have to connect with other people. We want you to connect with other people. We're wired for connection. We humans
Right.
are made to connect with other people. But we can't forget ourselves and and forget to appreciate ourselves and show ourselves some love, because it just all gets mirrored back. And like you said, that's important. It's the little things. And that's why I love the things I love some of the things we're coming up to. The next one, meditate. I've heard it said that 20 minutes of meditation is worth 2 hours of sleep. And that's not to say that you can just stop sleeping and just go to meditation. But when you meditate, it's time for you, even if you meditate for just 5 minutes a day, it's a time for you to get quiet and connect with the spiritual part of yourself, that part that's non-physical. And we're talking about, connecting with others. Well, there's a connection to ourselves as well. And so this is a way to do that, is to develop some kind of practice where you're actually getting quiet and taking that time to spend that time with yourself in a quiet, intimate conversation. I'm a big fan of meditation, and even though I haven't used too many of them, I've had a meditation practice for, maybe 30 years. But I hear that there are a lot of really great apps for your phone out there for meditating.
Okay.
Do you know any of them, Walt?
I do not. No, I have not investigated them. In my own case, meditation was one of those words that I had a hard time getting my head around for the longest time, in part because of the way it's often taught. For me, the way it was taught just didn't work. I couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't make sense out of it. And I know there are a lot of people who really, really advocate doing like rigorous meditation every single day. I mean, Tom Wells, he meditates every morning like clockwork. Well, it wasn't until I read something, I think it was actually Abraham. I can't remember where I read it. But the meditation formula was so much more simple than all the other formulas I ever heard. When I heard this formula, then I said, well, I do that anyway. And I didn't realize it. What I was doing, I actually do meditate during the day, but I don't do it as like a scheduled, rigorous practice. I just do it when I need to do it. This particular practice is so simple. You sit down, or be comfortable somewhere, standing, sitting, laying down, whatever you want to do, and then you just focus on your breathing. And as your mind starts to wander, you say, okay, and then you let it go, and you go back and focus on your breathing. And then when your mind starts to wander, you say, okay, let it go, and then you bring your focus back to breathing. I said, well, that's what I do. When I need to relax, when I need to take a break or whatever, get away from work or whatever I'm doing, I usually do it on my feet, actually. I pace. And when I'm pacing, I'm releasing these ideas. My mind is abuzz and all this stuff that's going on, and I just need to get it out. So I'm just breathing deeply as I'm walking along and letting it come out. And I pace faster and faster as more and more stuff is coming out until finally I get myself to a place of, oh, good. I didn't realize I was meditating.
That's it. You're doing it. And I will say, for people that have never meditated, or actually, sometimes when people try to meditate and say, I've tried to meditate and I just can't do it because I try to get my mind quiet and focus on my breathing, and then all of a sudden my mind is like, I catch myself, my mind's wandering over there, I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I have to bring myself back, and then I'm focusing on my breathing, and then all of a sudden my mind is over there, and I have to bring myself back, and I'm like, well, then you're doing it. And that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
Is bringing yourself back to the center, right?
And I've proven you don't have to be sitting in lotus position to do it. I pace. Louise makes jokes about the fact that we need to get a house that's big enough with a long hall so I can pace the hall back and forth to my heart's content.
Kind of like some people have a lap pool. You can have like a meditation hallway.
Exactly. And I just think of it as pacing, but it really is meditative.
Well, there are walking meditations and sitting meditations, and so you don't have to be sitting you don't have to be sitting in a difficult yogic kind of position. Just get comfortable, and if you want to walk, and just remember that the process of bringing yourself back to focus on your breath, or focus on whatever you're focusing on, that is meditation. I used to have a yoga teacher who would start our class, and she would say, of course, we would just be lying on the yoga mat, relaxing or sitting up, but with our eyes shut, just focusing on our breath. And she would say, all of that energy that you've been sending out all day to take care of everyone else, and all those thoughts that are going out, and all that energy that's just been out doing things, just bring it all back into your center. And that one little exercise was so powerful for me, just that visual of kind of drawing back in all the energy that's mine, bringing it back in to my center. Just that, it takes like 1 second to visualize that, and yet doing it was really powerful. So yes, some people have practices where they meditate for, an hour a day or something, and I've done those long meditations, but it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be super time consistent. I think the most important thing, if you want to start a meditation practice, is to just try and be consistent with it and do it as often as you can, every day, at least every day, or a few days a week at least to get started.
Yeah, I treat my...
I like hearing about your walking meditation.
I treat my pacing meditation in the same way that the instructions read on some of these over-the-counter medications. Take as needed. That's when I do it.
Yeah, me too. I generally I generally meditate sometime in the day between, sometime during my office hours. I open my office at about 10, and I close my office at 4. And sometime during that time, I will take a break and meditate. But it's definitely not like clockwork, and it's not at the same time every day. It's definitely as needed. And if I skip a day or so, I will start realizing, I really can tell that I haven't been meditating.
You can feel it. It doesn't take long to realize I just need to get back into doing that for one more time. Just right now. That's it. No, I don't have to worry about it later on. Just now.
I like that. We could be good to think of a lot of things that way, right?
Yeah. Well, we only live in the now.
Just stay in the now.
Why is it we have to plan for the now? I don't understand that.
Because we're human, and that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Stop thinking about the past and the future. Okay. Okay. The next one. Listen to your favorite music while doing nothing else.
That's one of my favorites.
Like headphones, if possible. Turn it up. Listen to the whole album. Not like, and maybe even dance, right? But not like putting on the music while you do 100 other things. But this one reminds me of reading fiction. How so many people are averse to reading fiction because they think it's just a waste of time. They're not being productive. It's like, I need to be getting something done. But this is getting something done. It's showing yourself some love.
It is.
Treating yourself to your favorite music. You often take your walk and listen to music, right?
Yeah, which means I am actually doing
really
something.
Nice.
But it's a very pleasant kind of something.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm doing work.
Yeah.
It's more like I'm out having a good time and enjoying myself. And I've actually, this past week I tried it. There was one, it was Saturday actually. Saturday afternoon I was not really feeling it and I needed to get myself in a better space. And so I abandoned what I was doing, which was supposed to be for self-entertainment, and it wasn't working. And I just got up my iPhone, my headphones, went in the bedroom, laid down, put them on, just started playing my positive music list. And I played it for about an hour and a half. I was surprised how long I stayed there. And by the time I was done, I was glowing. I was feeling so good.
I was going to say, I think you got off the bed and you came out and you just pointed your magic wand at something and boof, it created.
Yeah, that's right. Trying to remember my Harry Potter spells, but
Right. All right, so this one I really like, and this is how I wrote it in the article. I wrote number 19, wash your car. I mean, seriously, you're a rock star. You don't drive yourself around in that dirty car, do you? I know you would wash it if you were going to be driving, insert, super sexy person's name here. Right? So
we're not talking Miss
Daisy. If someone calls you up and say, right? Someone calls you up and says, look, I need you to we need somebody to go to the airport and pick up, I don't know, some famous, handsome person, right? You're going to tell me you would drive there in a filthy car? I think everybody I know would be out there, like, soaping up their car. It's like, oh, my gosh, I got to clean the car, right? I realize that a lot when people are going on a date. They got a really important date with somebody they really want to impress. They'll make sure that they detail that car. But how often do we drive ourselves around in a car that's not clean?
And by the way,
I think that was important.
Washing your car does not require that you get out the bucket and the rags and do it yourself. There are car washes. They work just fine. You don't have to do it yourself. If you don't like it, I mean, like me, I dislike washing cars. Probably not the best thing for me to do, but I can certainly take it to somebody else, pay them $5 and have them wash the car. And I love that.
Right? Exactly. See, now I am exactly the opposite. On a beautiful day, I don't know why this is. I like nothing more to get out the bucket and get out all the detailing stuff and the brushes to scrub the wheels. I love shiny wheels, and putting on my iPod with, or my iPhone or whatever, putting my headset on with some loud music and getting out there and washing and polishing the car. Like, that makes my day. I love doing it.
That's great.
I don't know why.
That.
I don't know why, because I don't get the same enthusiasm for, like, mopping floors or vacuuming. Yeah, no, it's like I could let that go forever. That does not lift my vibe. But washing the car. Okay, the next one is for the women or anyone that wears makeup. Clean out the makeup drawer. Wearing makeup that's past its prime is not healthy. It's not good for your skin. If you wear eye makeup that's old, it can be bad for your eye health. So you want to keep yourself healthy and beautiful, right? So throw out the old stuff and replace it. And the bonus is that you get a shopping trip to the makeup store. Yay! My favorite. I love that part. And so, okay, here's another one where people say the little not enough money voice starts whispering. I can't replace all my makeup. I recently heard somebody talking about this, and they gave timelines that were different from the ones I knew. They were like, you should replace your eye makeup like every 3 months. I was like, every 3 months? That stuff's expensive. Okay, so if that little voice starts saying, I can't replace all my makeup, like that would cost hundreds of dollars. Then just replace one thing today and one thing next week and just lather, rinse, and repeat.
So you're going to replace the makeup and you're going to get a shampoo at the same time? That's good. Because you're going to lather, rinse, repeat.
Yes. So, and that's another thing, like cleaning out, people are probably like, oh my gosh, really cleaning, I hate cleaning. This is not like showing myself love. But it really does, because when you declutter a space, I used to call it the cosmetic graveyard, because I had this drawer in the bathroom with like all this makeup in that I bought, that I tried, I didn't really like it, threw it in the drawer. It's like, oh my gosh. Or, that shampoo that you bought that just didn't work out and it's been under your bathroom sink for like 5 years. Just get rid of all that stuff, because it's an energetic thing. Things hold energy, and when we start, everybody has to have had this experience at least once, right, of cleaning out a drawer or a closet and just having this sense of relief, cleaning off your desk in your office, just this sense of, oh my gosh, it feels so much better now.
It does, yeah, it actually does.
And so I really think that what I like to do is, I had a friend that taught me this, said set the timer for 20 minutes and pick an area. It keeps you from procrastinating. So you're like, okay, I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes and I'm going to clean out this drawer, and that's all I'm going to do. Or I'm going to start working on this area, and when the timer goes off in 20 minutes, I'm done. I'll revisit it later. You can make some progress, but it is an act of self-love to keep your environment in a nice, decluttered, clean, state. And it will help the energy vibe, and that helps your ability to use the law of attraction in a way where you can deliberately create what you want.
And I can also add something else, too, from the perspective of somebody who had a big problem very early on in his life with keeping the home, clean and neat. One of the things that you can run into if you are kind of a clutter accumulator kind of person, which I was, you can break it down even more than 20 minutes. Like 20 minutes to somebody who's got a problem with accumulating stuff, that can seem like an eternity. But you can do it for 5 minutes.
Okay, good.
If you do it for 5 minutes, that seems tolerable, and then you can come back, some period of time later and do another 5 minutes. And if you do it that way, you can actually nibble it away. You can actually start seeing progress. And then somewhere along the line, then you get that urge. You say, all right, I can't wait. 5 minutes is not long enough. I just got to get a whole bunch of it done. And then you end up getting a bunch of it done. In other words, you're feeding the way your own...
I always say the cleaning...
I was just going to say, you're feeding your own way of how you need to go about dealing with, I'm going to start cleaning this stuff up. Because everybody's way is different. So if just putting a 20-minute timer seems like too much, then change it around to what does work for you. It's important to take some kind of step in that direction. And when you take the first step, the second step becomes easier.
I love that, because when you said, and then the urge will hit you eventually.
It does,
I always call that like I get bit by the cleaning bug. And I actually really like when that happens, because it's like, ooh, I got to take advantage of this while it's here. I got to rock and roll now. Right. I feel like doing it, It's like, get it done. And I'm kind of prone to collect things too. And, we talked one time about core values, and like one of my top core values is beauty, right? I like beautiful things. And so my clutter is really cute. And that's an issue, little piles of very cute things everywhere, because it's like, it's like, oh, but look at it. It's so nice.
It's so cute. Cute clutter. I love it.
Okay. I think we're going to actually get through this list. I'm watching the clock, and I'm like, we can do it. 2 more things. These are important. Number 21 was learn something new. And here's the way I put it. That thing you always wanted to do, it's not too late. This is one of my favorite little stories. Grandma Moses began her painting career when she was 78, and she painted over 1,500 paintings before she died.
Wow.
1,500 paintings.
That's crazy.
That's a body of work.
It is.
So if you have a desire to learn a new thing, to do a new thing, never let that, I'm too old to do this. I follow the creator, one of the artists of Spider-Man on Twitter, and he made a post that said basically the same thing the other day. He said, it's not too late. And all these people started commenting, and because they follow him, most of them also were illustrators or in the art field. I couldn't believe how many people said that they had gone back to art school and started drawing cartoons or whatever when they were like in their 40s or 50s. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because people were really getting motivated. And so it's not too late. It's not too late. That makes me fired up to learn something.
There's a key point here, and this is something I learned from working with the kids in the Sudbury model that I was telling you about. One of the things that happens in a Sudbury school where the kids are completely in control of their own day is they tend to try something and then abandon it and try something different and abandon that and try something different and abandon that until they find something they really like, and then they spend a lot of time on it. And there's a really important aspect of that method that we tend to overlook even when the method is explained to us, which is you have to try it before you abandon it. What we as adults tend to do is we tend to anticipate that we're going to abandon it, so we don't try it. And that's why we never try following up on these little impulses we have. So it's really important when you get an impulse, even if you don't think it's going to work out, try it anyway because it establishes the correct habit. And that's what you really want to be doing.
Oh, I love that so much. I am very happy that you said that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Before you even finished it, I was thinking to myself, I bet we do the opposite. We abandon it before we even try it.
We do. Yep.
Yeah. We just say, but you're right I think we all have those impulses to learn new things because we have an expansive nature as humans. Okay. I don't want to miss this last one, and I know we're coming up on the end of the hour.
We're getting there, yep.
So the last one is say yes to yourself, and don't be afraid to say no to do that, because sometimes we have to say no to someone or something else for it to be a yes for us, and that's just part of setting strong boundaries, and setting boundaries is an act of love for yourself. You don't set boundaries to change someone else. You set boundaries so that you can have what you need. So be willing to say no sometimes if it feels like a big yes for you.
Yeah, that's critically important.
Putting yourself in a place where you're showing yourself love. Yes. All right, we did it. We got through.
We got through them. We did the whole thing. All right, hooray! So
happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. Well, if you're following the last 2 days of podcasts on this subject, and you can find the link to the article on both the first and second podcast description on the website, in case you want to go through it again. This is a great way to get yourself into that space where you are going to attract that perfect person, where you are going to improve that relationship that's kind of on the rocks right now. Because you have to love yourself first. So, Cindie, thank you so much for sharing all this stuff, because that's the key concept. You have to love yourself first before anyone else can love you and before you can love anyone else.
Yes, so go love yourself today, people.
And thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for doing the show. I look forward to talking with you about 6 days from now.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that seems like an eternity. But yes, next Tuesday I'll be back with you.
All right, and of course we're here every day, so be sure to join us next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.